Hello, everyone. Welcome into the crowded booth. We're so excited to talk with you. Well, I got choked up there for a second. I saw, look, we have fun. We have fun. Saw folks in the background just dancing, hanging out, or whatever, and it threw me for a loop. We're going to talk week one, best bets. Sorry, best bets, preview. We're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun on this episode here on the crowded booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The crowded booth with Bryce Koon.
All right. We're here on a wonderful Wednesday evening. The college football, we'll call it week one eve, perhaps, because tomorrow night we have, guys, is it just one matchup or are there two? I think there's two matchups tomorrow.
I think there's 4 games.
There's
one game that matters, I guess you could say. Florida, Utah.
No.
We're not talking about that one tonight, though. But
I was going to say Minnesota, Nebraska matters more.
I thought it was North Carolina, A&T, and UNB. I mean, come on now.
All right, so we're going to continue. No, I'm just kidding. No, look, hey, it's college football is here. Week 0 has finally come and gone, and we get ready for week 1. Action-packed slate starting tomorrow night, leading into Monday night. That'll be bookended with Clemson against Duke up at Wallace Wade Stadium. So, hey, we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got 3 games that we're going to pick from. You can probably tell from the thumbnail. Arguably the biggest matchup of the week 1. Might be one of the biggest games when we look back at the end of the season of kind of determining potential college football playoff implications. We're going to talk about that tonight as well. We're going to get into 3 games. Georgia Tech fans, yes, you're going to see the Jackets featured in one of those, but we're also going to continue to talk about what happens with the some of the games of the weekend. Some of the games that I think that people are paying attention to. Ralph's got his group of 5 pick. And we're going to look at Will's got a very interesting kind of best bets. Who's going to kind of overperform in playing against Vegas here? It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, I got choked up there in the intro. Not my finest work. I literally went on. We had 2 minutes with a countdown clock, and that just seemed to happen. But, hey, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're listening on podcasts after the fact. Make sure to find us over on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Follow us there as well. We're going to get started here. Will, we're going to give you the floor. On Monday night, we talked with Ralph, and Ralph gave his take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and where he thought they were as a program. Ralph, cue it up for him. We're going to pass the baton over to Will Mannis himself. Where is Georgia Tech in your opinion? Because we have such a diehard fan base on this channel. What is your take on the Jackets as they ramp up the season? We're all going to be in the building on Friday night.
That's right. We'll be there. We'll be there.
Not me.
Nope, that's not me.
That's you.
Yeah, so the short answer, I think Georgia Tech's 2, probably 3 years away from actual contention in the ACC or in the national landscape. Look, go all the way back to hiring Brent Key. I think where Georgia Tech is as a program and as an athletic program, a football program, it was the right move. You get somebody that knows the place, can kind of have that foundation, knows what it takes at Georgia Tech, and can get the ball rolling in the right direction. I think he is going to be the guy that kind of falls on the sword for Georgia Tech. He's not going to win enough games to stick around and see the real success, but he'll get the ball rolling. For this year, Haynes King comes in as the new starting quarterback, transfer from Texas A&M. Watched him a ton last year at Texas A&M. He doesn't excite me. I mean, he lost the starting job there for a reason. I mean, they played Colorado. What'd they beat them last year? 10-7. That was before Deion Sanders got there. It was a tight game. They didn't score very many points. But, maybe that's because Texas A&M was a dumpster fire. But I don't think Georgia Tech is a much better situation for him at this point. So I think it'll be a long season on offense for them. Defensively, I've heard Bryce say it over and over and over again. Very young, very raw, not a ton of proven playmakers out there. I think Vegas has Georgia Tech's win total at 4.5. That's probably about right. And I think Georgia Tech would be ecstatic to go over that.
My man just said that Georgia Tech didn't have any playmakers on the defensive side of the football. I want to say I have not said that. They've got a lot to prove. The back end is nice.
You know better than I do.
Look, I know. I just want
know
the
better than
fans.
Hold on, Bryce. We need a little shout out for Will here. Just let him feel better.
Richard Willick, a Dapper Sport, and the
That's right.
coming freeze warning. Richard Leary, massive Auburn fan, and a
I
big
need-
fan
I
of Major
need-
League Fishing.
I need my freeze warning shirt. I need one.
You do. You do. Hey, look, we're going to get into some of the teams, though. We'll appreciate that. Ralph, let's go to our first game. And it is obviously the game that we were just talking about. Georgia Tech against Louisville. Louisville's a 7.5-point favorite. Ralph, this line has moved a little bit. I gave my prediction last night on last night's show. You guys have heard me. I mean, Ralph, you've sat for the past 2 years in the background hearing me talk about this program. What do you think about this game? We're going to be in the building. I will tell you this. Louisville has apparently returned a lot of the tickets that they were allotted. Georgia Tech has sold out of their allotments. So you expect there to be a Georgia Tech fan-friendly crowd in Atlanta on Friday night. New quarterback. Find some playmakers on defense. Ralph, where are you going with this one? Where do you think how do you think this shakes out?
Well, I mean, I know what I said Monday night about Tech fans or about Tech in general probably makes people mad and upset. And they're thinking when I said they're probably a 5-win at best season, is heartbreaking to hear sometimes. They're probably pissed off. Who cares? I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about most of the time. Mainly, though, this matchup is interesting to me. You got really, to me, there's 2 new coaches and 2 new programs, really. I mean, obviously, Brent Keith's been there. He finished off the season last year. And Brom's been around, around college football for a long time. He's a great coach. I think we say that a lot actually about him now. That's how good of a coach he is and a great offensive mind. I got Louisville. I mean, I think they cover. I mean, I think it's just like a 10-point game though. I don't think it's a blowout. I don't think it's Louisville's just putting absolute work on Tech. I think it's a good game. I think Louisville pulls away late the fourth quarter. I just don't think Tech has all the answers they're looking for right now, just for not defensively, just offensively. I think Haynes King's a big question mark. He's probably their best option right now, but is he the best option later on in the year? We don't know that. It's week 1. You're probably a little jitters. You're new season, new everything going on. I think Tech's going to be decent enough this year to compete in a lot of big games, but week 1, I just feel like they're going to fall off this one. I think Louisville just pulls away late.
Not a bad pick there. I mean, that's kind of where I sat with my prediction last week when I went through the schedule. 31-20 was my final score in this one. A lot of unknowns in this contest. Will, we talked about it last night on the show. Louisville brings in a brand new quarterback. They've got Jack Plummer, who does have experience with Jeff Brom. Jeff Brom is a solid football coach. Where do you see this game going on Friday night? You like that 7.5 line? We're going to pick this one outright. Ralph goes with Louisville. Where do you sit with this one?
I'm going Louisville too, and I like the 7.5. 7.5. I'll lay the 7.5, which means I think Louisville will cover that. It's just kind of like what I said about Georgia Tech. Where Louisville is as a program with the returning talent, I know they lost a lot, but knowing what they have returning, I think they're in a better spot than Georgia Tech coming in week 1. You said it, question marks with a new quarterback. Georgia Tech has those questions too. A guy in Haynes King, like I said, I saw him a lot in the SEC. I don't trust him. He's got to find his playmakers on the outside quickly, and it's a brand new offense. I think more pro style than what Georgia Tech was running a year ago, which probably suits Haynes King. He was running a pro style system at Texas A&M, but I think Louisville's too much. I think they're too good on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I've wavered on this. I kind of gave my prediction last night. I don't even remember what my prediction was. I still predicted Louisville to win this one. I think I did predict Georgia Tech to cover this line, though. I think that as many question marks we talk about with Georgia Tech, Louisville still has that too. I mean, they have so many weapons, but is that going to be something that just clicks from game 1? I don't know. Could Georgia take advantage of that? And, CDawg 18, I don't think I said Georgia Tech by 100, but I don't know. Sean Taylor, though, helped me out there. 27-21, I picked Louisville to win it. I'm going to stick with that. I think, look, when you get into a point spread that's 7.5, when you get into, a game like this, we've all kind of predicted, a big play here or there, big turnover, which we know Georgia Tech really benefited off of those last season, really doing well in the turnover category. It could change really fast. Personally, I don't know about you guys. I would like for it to change really fast. I think it'd be quite an experience to see what Georgia Tech could do offensively. Buster Faulkner, what does that look like? It's going to be kind of fun to watch that as well. So
I think we all flicker on the second play after a 3 and out.
Oh.
That's what I think.
Jeez.
I was in the building for Clemson last year.
That was just horrible. Absolutely Horrible.
It's like,
Will, I got a
why?
question for you. We want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and get this one. Will has inside connections to Mercedes-Benz. Do you know what the stadium capacity of Mercedes-Benz with the top closed off is?
No.
How about you, Ralph, with stats and research over there?
I mean, I do not, but I'm sure I could find out.
Okay, that's fine.
I think it's in the 60 to 70,000. And then when you open the top,
but that's with the top though, right?
I thought it went up to 100 with the top.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. Be interesting to see.
I think
go ahead.
The only time I've seen it with the top open was for the semifinal game last year, Georgia and Ohio State. Every other time that I've been, the top's been closed, which I've seen a lot of Atlanta United matches, and they don't open the upper deck.
All right, here we go. I got you.
79,330 was the record attendance for a football game in 2022.
It can expand up to 75,000. That's as big as it goes.
Oh, okay.
So 75,000. So I don't know. I mean, I think that it's going to be very interesting to kind of see what the crowd is like, and we'll get a feel for that very early on. Let's roll along to the next game.
You said it before we went live. You said it. There'll be a lot of Georgia Tech fans there, so be loud.
Be loud, be proud. That's what we should be. Hey, we'll be in attendance. Let's keep rolling here. Next game is on Saturday. North Carolina is a 2.5-point favorite against South Carolina. It's going to be a lot of fun to kind of watch this game. I think that, the question has to be asked, does Beamer ball ruin Drake May's Heisman candidacy season? Is this where a game that he could start off, trying to win a Heisman? But we'll see. We will see what this looks like. Will, we're going to start with you on this one. South Carolina against North Carolina. Where do you sit in this contest?
I like South Carolina a lot. This was on the short list for my best bet. South Carolina plus 2.5. Look, North Carolina, they don't have a defense. They've never had one under Mac Brown. They're going to score a ton of points, but they can't stop anybody. Now, I'm putting a lot of faith in Spencer Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
If it's good Spencer Rattler, I think South Carolina rolls. I think they pull this small upset. But if you get bad Spencer Rattler, it could be a long day. If you do like to bet, I would take the over. I think you're more likely going to get bad Spencer Rattler and North Carolina having poor defense. And North Carolina is going to score. But I like South Carolina mainly because North Carolina has no defense.
South Carolina got a lot of question marks coming into this season. Marcus Satterfield heads to Nebraska. They bring in Dowell Loggins with NFL experience. But we had a South Carolina preview show in the month of July, and there was a lot of question marks. What does this offense look like? You still have Juice Wells, which you go back to that Tennessee game last year. Man, those two connected far too often if you're a Tennessee fan. Just kind of going back to that game and looking at what it was. Ralph, for you, where do you see this game lining up? North Carolina, a slim favorite. This game's up in Charlotte, part of the Duke's Mayo kickoff. Who's getting the Mayo bath, in your opinion, at the end of this contest?
I think it's Mac Brown. I do. Look, South Carolina is still, I think they're a good team this year. You lost probably your best offensive weapon to me. Well, not really best weapon, but one of the most talented weapons you had with Jaheim Bell. I think losing him last year really hurt them a lot. And I think Will said it best. If you get the bad Spencer Rattler, you're in for a long day. You're not rely on your run game, which wasn't really stout last year. And, if Rattler throws, 2 or 3 picks, you're looking for, like I said, it's just a rough day because you're giving Drake May the ball in his hands more often than you want to, and he's probably going to throw it down the field and score. He's a great quarterback. I think he's got a lot of weapons around him. I think he's going to have a great year this year. This probably could be his Heisman chance if Caleb Williams doesn't have his best year. So, I got UNC covering. I think they win by a field goal or more. So.
I like that. I want to point out a couple factors before I make my pick here. I mentioned Dowell Loggins, the new OC over there at South Carolina. You mentioned he's not going to have Jaheim Bell. That's going to be the next matchup we talk about. Jaheim Bell making his way down to Tallahassee. Also, another guy that they don't have, and that's Marshawn Lloyd, who's made his way out to the other USC. He's down in California running back. So one of the biggest question marks coming into this game is, can South Carolina have the horses to be able to run the football? Now, look, they've got a lot of weapons. Shane Beamer's done a nice job recruiting-wise, but does that development happen here in week 1? This is a tough one for me, and I think the why it's such a slim line shows you I think Vegas knows kind of what they're talking about in this one, because I do agree with you guys. If Spencer Rattler is on, South Carolina could win this game. When he's dialed in, I'm going to say something. When he's dialed in, I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the country. Like when he is dialed in, and we talk about, the Tennessee game, the Clemson game last year, like when he is dialed in, I think it's going to be something that's really hard to stop him. So in this matchup, can North Carolina's defense do enough? Can they make the big play? And I'm going to say they are going to. I think the Tar Heels win this one. I think that it starts off a campaign where Drake May, like you said, Will, is going to be able to put up some big numbers. Still have a lot of concerns when you read and look about what South Carolina brings in the trenches. They're not there yet. I don't know if South Carolina's defense is going to be able to stop Drake May in North Carolina with any sort of regularity. I think they're going to be able to kind of get what they want. And Spencer Rattler, like we said, is just too big of a question mark for me in the senior season, especially under a new OC, to really make me feel good. So I'm taking North Carolina in this one. I think the Tar Heels walk out of Charlotte with a big win, but I think we all kind of agree it could go either way. I mean, this is one, if you get a certain player to step up in this moment, we could see it kind of go either way. So we're going to be very, very interesting. Let's rock and roll, Ralph, here with the next topic of conversation. This is one where, man, this is going to be a good football game. This is really going to be a really, really good football game. You want to watch two teams that are capable, I'm going to say it, capable of making noise in December and potentially January. You're going to have it right here on Labor Day weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun down in Orlando. Ralph, going to start with you. LSU, a slight favorite. Let's preview this game. Let's talk about this game before you make your pick. What do you like in this matchup, and who do you think it favors and why?
Man, I feel like I've talked about this matchup with you for 3 months now, I think. I've gone back and forth on it a lot, and I know the line is LSU minus 2.5. I really don't think there should be a line available for this game. It's too close for comfort, honestly. LSU's just got a lot going on right now. I think they got one guy who's suspended. I can't think of his name right now.
Mason Smith.
Mason Smith is suspended for this game. You're without John Emery now. You're back at running back, if I'm correct.
One of the 9 running backs they would have employed.
Well,
but, yes.
But Noah Cain obviously is number one. I think Florida State's just too loaded. I mean, they loaded up last year in this past year in the transfer portal. They were really good last year. They really didn't lose a lot. I like Florida State this year. I got them in my top 4. This is a game I think they come out and win. I mean, obviously last year's game was kind of a a little fluke, of how it ended. And I know a lot of LSU fans are still stinging because of that one. But I think Florida State's just got you this year. I think they're just a little better in this point right now. I think Jaden Daniels is still very talented. I think he's having a great year. He's going to lead possibly LSU to the SEC championship game for the second year in a row. I just think week 1 you're catching Florida State at a good time. I think LSU just not at 100% because they're without Mason Smith and some other guys are probably are going to miss that game. But it's going to be one of the best. It's the best game of the weekend. No doubt about it. But I got Florida State winning. It's not by much. It truly isn't going to be able. I think it's almost like last year's game. I'm thinking like 28-24.
I like that. Will, how do you feel about this? Ralph mentioned, LSU's got some question marks up front without Mason Smith, an All-American level player. John Emery not playing this. I will say, and this is just a tidbit I was able to get from somebody who had been at practice, but John Emery really not going to factor much into the offense already. He was trying to work back and get. So that is something that they've got, like Ralph said, they've got running back depth to be able to kind of counter that. Will, what you think here? What do you when you look at this game? Obviously, going to be a great game down in Orlando. How are you feeling rolling into this one?
I'm taking the Bayou Bengals minus 2.5. No Mason Smith, not worried. The depth that LSU has in their front 7, headlined by Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins is going to be putting pressure on Jordan Travis all night long, whether he gets to him or not. He'll be under pressure. Jordan Travis is going to be looking at him, when they line up every play, trying to find where Harold Perkins is. He's going to be in his head all night. Jaden Daniels, I think he's a top 2 quarterback in the SEC, and he might be a top 1 quarterback in the SEC here in preseason. I think he's really good. I know LSU fans don't love him. I don't really know why. I think every other program would love to have him as their quarterback. He leads that offense. He fits really well into that scheme. They scheme very well for him, that offensive staff. LSU's going to run the ball. No John Emery, no problem, like you said. And they've got playmakers on the outside. They always do. It's LSU. They always have great wide receivers. I like LSU, and I like LSU to cover.
I don't mind that pick as well. And let's dive into this. I mean, obviously a little bit. Actually did a whole separate podcast on this game today. Here's kind of my thoughts on the situation, and I'll roll with this. I think that when you look at what LSU brings to the table, like Will said, you got a quarterback that is the guy in the SEC right now, just because he's only one of the big returning guys. It's kind of him and KJ Jefferson as the two big returning quarterbacks. You might throw Jackson Dart in that conversation at Ole Miss. Everyone else in the conference is brand new. But what does that mean for this, season? What does that mean for week one, where you're going to be thrown to the wolves against a Florida State team that Ralph alluded to, but it's a Seminole team that has done a fantastic job of adding through the portal. Now, here is my cause for concern, and this plays into my pick for this one. I have wavered back and forth over the past week on this one. Florida State does not have a guy in their receiver room, guys, that is under 6'2". They don't. That's wild. It's ridiculous when you look at what they are able to put out there. Johnny Wilson was a big weapon for them at the wide receiver position last year. They also, and I should say, guys that are going to be able to contribute this season. In this, though, they added Keon Coleman from Michigan State. What does that mean for this team? Well, it gives them another weapon. Ralph, you mentioned Jaheim Bell. They've also got the young man from Shorter University that was the D2 player All-American that's transferred in and, is going to be more of a blocking guy. But it's going to be very interesting. Look, this is really good. They returned Trey Benson. The concern for me is you can't mitigate what Mason Smith brought to this team. You can't just sit there and say, well, we lost him, but we've got great depth. They do, but it's a lot of guys that came through the portal. And I always say there's reason that guys enter the transfer portal. It's not just because, they're always looking for, just another opportunity. No, they might have lost out to where they were. I think that LSU is going to have to find that combination. Real was right in saying that they do have quality depth. Guys like Jordan Jefferson from West Virginia, obviously Paris Shand comes in from Oregon. You have a lot of other options that they can bring in. It's going to be very interesting to see how they combat what Florida State can do offensively. I actually have really gone back and forth. I think that this game is going to be driven by the offenses in the sense of where defenses are going to make their presence felt. You have two guys. If Harold Perkins was eligible for the draft this year, you have two guys who would be done in the first 10 picks, 15 maybe. Jared Verse for Florida State, unbelievable football player. And then you've also got Harold Perkins, like Will alluded to as well, was my pick for SEC Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to continue to wreak havoc here in year two and cause nightmares for opposing offensive coordinators. I have Florida State covering this, though. I think this it's crazy to a lot of the fan base that follows me on Twitter that knows I cover LSU, but I just feel like Florida State, Jordan Travis is really, really accurate. And I'll throw this number in there. Just teasing a little bit here. When Florida State faces under Mike Norvell a quarterback that completes 65% of his passes or more, they are 1-12 all time. The only time they've won is against LSU last season. Jane Daniels completed 71% of his passes. I think that Florida State wins this one. I think it's a slim margin, but I don't think that this ruins the chances for LSU. We all know that you can continue to win the SEC and still get in the playoff potentially with 2 losses if things bounce right for you in Atlanta. But this is what I think. I think it's going to be a great football game. It could seriously go either way in this sense, but we'll obviously kind of have to see where this game rolls on Sunday night, which will be a fun one. Should we do a show like from the stadium? Like, should I just do one there on Sunday night and just say like, hey, what's up? And we can just do like, you guys hop in here and I just call in. Like, that'd be kind of fun. We might have to do
one. I don't know if you do one Sunday, you feel like you should do one Friday.
I got to figure out what to do on Friday. I don't know what we're live from the tailgate post game. We might have to do that. That'll be a wild time in Atlanta. But hey, let's rock and roll. We're going to take a quick break. When we do come back, though, we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the best bets. What are some of those that you can look at this weekend and say, hey, I feel pretty good about that? I already got you last week on the Navy plus 20.5. I promise I'll do better this week.
Cook's Place began serving our signature hot dogs in 1985 from a cart on Broadway. We still serve the best hot dogs and scrambled dogs in town at the corner of Moon and Miller Road and at the landings. Our friendly staff won't let you leave hungry. Come in and eat to the beat with our 50s jukebox. Cook's Place, fast service, great people, awesome food. What are you waiting for?
Back here at the crowded booth, talking a little bit of college football week 1 picks. We went through our 3 games where we pick them straight up. Now we get into a little bit of the best bets, looking at some of the games that may be flying under the radar that we feel confident about, giving you a little insight on why. Will, I'm going to let you roll first with this one. And Ralph will switch it up on you. If you want to go and throw his up there, Will's going out west. He's going out west. Now, listen, I'll say this, Will. Way out west. Hawaii put up a really nice showing against Vanderbilt last Saturday. Now, Vanderbilt's not all that good. But you talk about night and day from year 1 to year 2. This Hawaii team, under a Hawaii Rainbow Warrior legend now as the head coach, looked a lot better. You've got them pretty. You think they're favored. You think they should be favored in this game. Why? And walk us through it.
Absolutely. You said it. They look great against Vanderbilt. Read some stats for you. Braden Shager, Hawaii quarterback, was lights out. 26 of 33 for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns against Vandy. That's an SEC defense. Got it. I know it's Vandy, but for Hawaii to come all the way to Vandy and to put up that showing looks really good. Here's another tidbit. Where'd it go? I'm looking at my notes here. Stanford. Where'd it go? Stanford has been awful against the spread. They are 2-10 against the spread in their last 12. I think they went 2-10 against the spread last year. So they're awful against the spread. They are 130th in returning production. That's like last in the FBS. So Stanford is in an awful position. Hawaii looked great. A note on Hawaii's defense. Their defense has allowed an expected per attempt per rush of negative 0.46. So their defense is expected to give up half a yard per rush. I think Stanford's going to have to run the ball a lot because they lack the talent. If Hawaii stops that run, they're just going to roll over Stanford. They get a home game against Stanford. So they're going to be fired up having a big dog come in there. Love Hawaii in this one. Don't know how they're not favored. Take Hawaii. Hawaii, best bet of the weekend.
I like it. I absolutely like it. Ralph, let's roll with you here. I know, Ralph, I scared you right there. And I just want to get to this comment real quick. So you're saying is we need to invite Hawaii to the ACC only if you're going to call it the Across the Country Conference, the All Country Conference. I don't know. You might have to. That's a good one there, Vince. Ralph, let's roll with you now. I mean, I got you. South Alabama, Tulane, -6.5. Now, I want to preface it with this. I just have to turn around for folks in the Group of 5 in the Fun Belt and the Sun Belt. Ralph loathes South Alabama. Doesn't just loathe them. Like, he hates their existence. He gives no respect to Kane Womack and what the Jaguars can do. Will and I also understand that if Kane Womack puts up another decent year in Mobile, he's going to be getting a look at some better jobs, as is Ralph's Lord and Savior,
Jesus Christ.
John Sumrall. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
sorry, Pat. John Sumrall. Ralph, walk us through this. South Alabama against Tulane. Look, the Green Wave bring back a veteran quarterback. Yeah. They bring back the almost Georgia Tech head coach in Willie Fritz. Ooh. But walk me through this. Where do you see this one rolling and why?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think I want to say half the country, maybe more, doubted this Tulane team when they were invited to play in the Cotton Bowl against USC. USC's going to walk all over them. USC's going to just come in here and they're going to beat the brakes off Tulane. Tulane shouldn't be here. Tulane whooped them. They came back in the second half and beat them. This Tulane team is not a team to mess with. They are preseason ranked 24th. They are exciting to watch this year. I love Michael Pratt. I like this team. What they did last year was incredible. I think they're going to run it back again this year. I do believe they might lose one I think they lose one to Oklahoma State later on, but I'm not talking about this future.
Mm-hmm.
I know with my love for Troy and my hatred for South Alabama, and I'm not playing this. South Alabama has good players. They do. They're a talented team. They're very well coached. But they always struggle at the beginning of the season. and this plays into this. They were going to New Orleans. Last time they played in New Orleans, they played West Kentucky in the bowl game and we got blown out. It's a bad taste in their mouth in that city. I think Tulane beats them at home. Tulane's just too talented. I think they're I think they're better coached. I think Willie Fritz is a better coach at this point. And I know Georgia Tech fans hate me saying that because they hate Willie Fritz and what happened with that situation. But I got Tulane covering. I think, but it's not by 30. It's probably by about 10 or less. I mean, it's going to be a good game. Tulane comes out. I think they just kind of keep a touchdown or 10-point lead the whole game. So.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's actually Tulane's a really good team, and offensively they have their identity. When you bring in a quarterback that's been playing for like 27 years, it also helps. He hasn't played as long as UTSA's, who's literally, I think, entering his 7th year of college football. Meet. So, that's what the Roadrunners have going on over there in San Antonio. Ref, let's get to mine. Let's get to mine right here. I'm going to roll with this one, and this is how I feel about this. I'm going back to the ACC.
The 2020 national champs, baby. Woo!
Ralph needs a UConn 2020 national championships t-shirt from the New York Times.
I want to find that to me. Send it to me, please.
NC State minus 14 against UConn. When I look at this game, I see an NC State team that blasted this UConn team last year, 41-10. But you say, Bryce, they had a different quarterback. Well, they sure did. But look, they brought in Brennan Armstrong. They reunited him with his old offensive coordinator when he was at Virginia. Armstrong's a guy that's thrown for over 9,000 yards in his career. I think that he and NC State are going to have a nice little season this year. I really do like what the Wolfpack bring. I like the fact that, they're getting to play this game, even as on the road. I don't want to take away from what UConn did last year. They got back to a bowl game. They were relevant in the month of December. Great for them. But I think that asking them to keep this within a 2-touchdown game, it'll be interesting to kind of watch that. I want to bring up this comment too. Love my man Sean Taylor. I see NC State as my dark horse to win the SEC. That would be nuts. That would be absolutely
insanely
crazy.
The darkest horse.
That's the darkest horse we've ever seen, and it doesn't count.
Yeah, better chance of Vanderbilt winning it though. So
they do. They probably. Armstrong's thrown for 9,000 yards, 58 touchdowns. The Wolfpack have also won 9 of their last 10 regular season non-conference games, dating back, I should say, to 2019. I really like North Carolina State this season. I think it's going to be a game to kind of watch as well as we roll with this.
I can't believe you're going to just doubt the Fighting Jim Morris like that.
Look, I like what UConn. I showed him respect.
Look,
I said I respect you.
I got it. You get out of town as fast as possible. You don't like the Falcons anymore. You're a Saints fan
like
now.
Falcons.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
You're a Pelicans fan. You hate the Hawks. It's okay. Don't dance like that, please.
Yeah, well, I just had to do it for me and my family. So, hey, but in all seriousness, look, college football's back week 1. Let's roll with this. Let's end the show with this right here. A game that we didn't mention that you're excited to watch. I'll go first. Florida, Utah tomorrow night. Because obviously the news that Cam Rising's not going to play in this game. The spread went down on that to, I think, 4.5. Utah is now favored in this contest. Look, both of these teams have really good run games. Florida might not give a lot out of Graham Mertz, but I will say this. If I've hated on Graham Mertz. I put Florida, Will, you're not going to believe this. I put Florida dead last in the SEC East. I think Vanderbilt's going to beat them again.
Vandy owns them.
Vandy owns them. But if Graham Mertz can just be a game manager, they do have auxiliary weapons to be able to use. Like they do have that. This team is not super talented, especially the trenches, especially elsewhere. But man, they've got 2 tailbacks that I think are going to be really fun to watch. That's my game. That's like my must-watch game for this weekend. Other than that one, what about you, Will? What's a must-watch game for you outside of that? And tell me why.
That's a great choice, by the way. I know you're going to go with it.
It's Auburn UMass. I'm fired up to see Hugh Freeze's offense. Hugh Freeze and Philip Montgomery, their meshing of their offenses, they were already similar. Really, really looking forward to seeing that. Really looking forward to see Peyton Thorne make his debut in an Auburn jersey. A lot of excitement with him coming from Michigan State. And it's a new defense. Ron Roberts, 3-3-5 defense. Unlike anything Auburn fans have seen, it's a foreign scheme defensively. I'm really excited to see Auburn, not just because I'm a fan, but I'm really excited to see this team, this new era, this bright light at the end of the tunnel.
I think he can provide it. Say it again for the people in the back. Richard Leary, Major League Fishing, coming up next after this here on
So
this
is he
channel.
saying Puma is better than Under Armour?
I think
I
he's
don't know.
well.
Is
Under Armour's
that what
UA.
he meant?
I mean, he did say this, so I mean, oh wait, you wouldn't know.
We're not going to show
he's
that in the
talking
comment.
he's talking about the quarterback Tyson. I can't. say his last
Tyson
name.
Pumachan. It's okay.
Pumachan.
Take fans.
Yeah,
whatever
I mean,
you
he
love
was
him.
great against New Mexico State. I'm worried. He might
Will
just
said
run
today.
right
He
through
said,
Auburn.
"Will, don't say it, Will, because I knew what you were about to say." Ralph, keep going. Keep going.
I'm just gonna let you know right now. There's only one game. There's only one game to watch on Saturday. It's Neon Dion, baby.
Oh,
Yes, sir. I'm ready to see what Neon Dion can do at Colorado. Though, honestly,
Yeah, you want to see
playing-
him get rolled by TCU,
Look,
the national runners-up?
I agree. I just want to see if they're about it though. If he's really about it, if they're going to be the next team to compete, if they're going to be, who they say they are. I was kind of joking with Dion, but I'm serious. I really want to see what they're actually about. I think Dion's done a lot of obviously recruiting because he's brought in a ton of transfers and a lot of people have left. So this is the big test. Is your program going to be about it for the future? Are you going to be able to compete later on the road this season? Are you going to just roll over and get whooped for 12 games this season? So it starts Saturday. You play TCU, national, like Will said, national champion runner-ups. They got whooped on in that national championship game. They got a bad taste in their mouth. They're waiting for this high and mighty coach who thinks they're going to be the best team in the country and come in their home stadium and try to beat them. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Ralph, I'll say this about that game, Colorado TCU. TCU thinks a 20.5-point favorite in this one.
Probably.
Look, the Horned Frogs have to replace Max Duggan. They do have a guy that they're excited about using, but I will say this about Colorado. I think that they have a top 10 college football player on their team in Travis Hunter. Like, I think that he's that good. He's just not going to get the votes necessary to be able to do so. So it's going to be really fun to kind of watch this. Let's rock and roll here. We'll see. Is Dion going to Collins, Colorado? That's going to be the very interesting question. I will tell you one thing, Matt, I'll make a bet with you. I don't think he does. I think that Colorado is going to be competitive in the Big 12 once they get there. I don't see why they can't. Like, it's very different situation. So let's walk out of here with the comment of the night. Richard Leary, Major League Fishing Angler of the Year. Matt Becker, rookie. Just an FYI. We'll have to get him on the show next time. Hey, this is the Crowded Booth. Wednesday night, every single Monday and Wednesday night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, talking college football, our picks, our best bets, previewing the games. We're going to be back, I guess, next Monday night. I think we are. At least that's the plan. Get back next Monday night, kind of recapping what happened on the weekend. Make sure to tune in on Thursday nights and Sunday nights as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've talked too much today. Ralph, just see us out. Just see us out. We'll
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.